I'll be 10 with the holidays. And good evening, everybody. I hope you're well. Something is rather strange at my end. I'm not entirely sure what it is. Who knows? Let's work through this regardless. I was actually quite pleased the video worked. That was the first time that's happened in a long while. There is a weird thing going on with Restream and Chrome. Really not sure what it is. Rather irritating. We haven't been able to run our video in quite a while. And yes, good evening, Jonathan. Where'd you go? There you are. Joe is not here. Joe has had family visit about 15 minutes before we went live. So there is a touch of irony about a family-orientated stream being interrupted by a family visit. I did tell her to throw them out, but she wouldn't listen. She said, no, can't do that. That's off-brand. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, I hope our Saturday has been well. It's been good, rather. I'm capable of speaking English occasionally. My chat is not functioning properly, but such is life. I'll make do. This is a bit of a follow-up to yesterday's stream, because there we go. Even Johnny, not pal. As I was saying, this is a bit of a follow-up stream from yesterday, because yesterday's stream was the first podcast we recorded. We kind of recorded it a little bit of a rush, not really expecting to put it out, and we ended up having to do that. We covered most of what we wanted to get through, but probably not all of it. My dinner was burning, to be completely honest with you, so we rushed through the ending a little bit. I'm a man with priorities, what can I say? There's been a couple of odd goings on recently, specifically on the YouTube side of things, rather than anywhere else, which is made kind of amusing by the fact that YouTube is the normie platform and DLive is supposed to be the hardcore, edgy platform. But it doesn't turn out that way at all. And it's really just been a build-up of pretty silly things more than anything else. Just some very, very strange sexualized comments, which really don't have any place pretty much anywhere. I'm not sure there's ever really a situation where you'd want to leave these sorts of comments.Maybe on Pornhub. Pornhub might be a decent place to leave some of them, but that would probably be about it. I think a couple of jokes that have been told recently have been a bit too lowbrow even for Pornhub, to be honest with you. I think even 4chan would look at it and think, eesh, maybe not. And this is something that we didn't really touch on yesterday, or Tuesday, whenever we record yesterday's video. There you are. That will keep it nice and easy. On yesterday's video. A part of being a warden is the self-responsibility. It is taking responsibility for yourself and, to an extent, those around you. A major part of that is keeping standards. And as Will said, let's keep it civil. It is very, very, very difficult to call people out. It's not the right term, but it is very difficult to see these comments when you're streaming and then nicely tell somebody that they're making a fool of themselves. I'm extremely conscious of the fact that I'm speaking. I'm able to speak. I'm able to say stuff. You guys can't. You're typing. The relationship there is different. I'm always going to appear as if I'm punching down, which is why I'm not highlighting any particular comments. Because it isn't needed. I don't think, anyway. I think the people who've been leaving them know they've been leaving them, and that's it. The thing that I'm more interested in, though, isn't so much saying to those people, hey, stop that. I'm much more interested in speaking to everybody else and say, hey, when you see something that's on the wrong side of edgy, or when you see something that is just blatantly disgusting. There is one particular comment I'm thinking of from a couple of weeks ago that compared a woman with no legs to a snail, and I will leave your minds wandering on that one. But when you see things like that, you know, just say that's wrong stream, lad, that sort of thing, you know. There are very nice ways to softly pull people up, and I think that's all people need. I have extremely high hopes for people anyway. I think we're all adults. We all want the same sort of thing. We all want reasonable people with their heads screwed on. We don't want lectures. We don't want people pulling us down either, which was actually a couple of comments from yesterday's stream were in that vein of people were trying to pull other people down. And I will concede that for one person in particular, it was not their intention. You know, they are going through stuff in their life, and it was actually kind of sad. If you are struggling, I'm going to put the link in, 1 minute. Nope, 1 minute. Bloody Discord going a little weird. Sorry. Do I really have to edit the link every single time? Apparently so. Anyway, here we go, lads. Sorry about that extremely smooth delay. I was not planning on this. There you are. If you are struggling at all, rather than take it out on other people, or rather than try and pull other people down or anything like that, come and join us. Plenty of very nice people on there, more than willing to talk. And there. That is a much better solution in my opinion. Because there are a lot of people who are struggling at the moment. You most certainly will not be alone for struggling. I would imagine more people are struggling now than ever. Ever, rather. I don't really police behaviour. Whether you laugh at it or not is neither here nor there to me. I don't care. I didn't personally find it funny, which is rare, very rare. I normally laugh at off-brand humour. I think part of the reason I didn't find it funny is where it was, and the particular conversation that was going ahead at the time. If I remember rightly, we were talking about getting... No, I don't think we were talking about getting people back into work. I don't know, we were talking about something off of that topic, and it was just kind of odd, more than anything else. Exactly, time and a place. That's what I agree with. There's a time and a place for everything, including off-colour jokes. Let's call them that. The other thing as well, just going to highlight Philomena there we go. I agree, don't suffer, come and talk instead. It'll be much, much, much better than suffering. British Dragon has asked a WRT. WRT stands for White Rose and Thorn, which is the group Joe and I have set up, which is, I am on a different browser, so that almost ended very badly, which you can find out more about there. Basically, we try and provide people with active solutions, or proactive solutions rather. The reason I found that one funny is because a couple of comments last night were directed towards the word proactive. And I can understand why. It is kind of middle management, but at the same time, it's an attitude. You know, lots and lots and lots of people are extremely reactive. They don't do anything for themselves, or they try and put other people into positions where they can enact change rather than enacting it themselves. Yeah, this is why I don't like political solutions to things. They just don't work. We are way, way, way too far in the mud at the moment. Things like this are not particularly helpful. It's a complete spy setup. First things first, are you on a Windows computer? If yes, I hate to break it to you, but your data is not that secure anyway. And with your data not being secure, it doesn't really matter what software you're using. Don't for a single second think that they can't get into anything they want to. They definitely can. It just doesn't matter. I've actually seen another platform. It's kind of somebody who has been banned from our Discord, and rightfully so, for spreading complete and utter nonsense, posted a link to something which basically stated that Discord was not safe. Perfectly fine, reasonable. I read through the article. If you then read through everything that this article stated, in fairness, I will put other things up. If you read through everything that this article stated, basically no website would be considered safe. And then this person was also pushing their own platform. So it's like, yeah, it's a little bit squiffy. Oh, if only I had the VPN money. They're everywhere. Don't use, what's the name of that bloody VPN company that's everywhere? Absolutely bloody everywhere you see them. They're up there with that weird night game, or whatever the hell it's called. Raid Shadow Legends, or whatever it is. Whatever that other VPN is, which has just appeared out of pretty much nowhere a couple of years ago and started spending an inordinate amount of money, don't use them. I don't know anything about them, but they're a little bit odd. Nord, thank you very much. I don't know, they may be above board. There's just something about them that kind of strikes me as a bit strange. Raid Shadow Legends, that was it. Thank you very much. So yes. As Andrew said, I have pop-ups. I'm not used to a single screen. It's very strange having everything in one place. Andrew has said there should be nothing on our Discord that would get you in trouble with anyone. The only thing that should be on there are things that... Where's the second part, lad? Build you and others up. Yes, I agree. And furthermore, I fully agree with Will. Completely 100% agree. Anything online is public, whether you want it to be or not, even if you think they're private conversations. Acting as if they're public is probably the best way to go. Don't say anything online that you wouldn't say to somebody in person, which admittedly will get a couple of you into trouble, but such is life. This is why I find NordVPN a little bit strange. Just because, as I said, they came along. They weren't very large, and then suddenly they became extremely large. And I will admit that is probably because of either seed funding or their affiliate program, which is a very, very healthy payout, I believe. But yeah, that's my sort of thing. If you need to know who to watch, start a VPN company. Because then everyone who thinks they're being watched or they're doing something that shouldn't be watched, they're going to go along to that, aren't they? Hey, look, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying. I also don't really think it's particularly helpful, rather, to drive people away from a community as opposed to towards it. Though I do take your point. If there becomes a major issue with Discord, we will move off of it. It's just as things stand, I'm not saying it. I think the problem with a truly private network is it's only end-to-end. I may be incorrect on that, but I think a truly private network is just something that is from one IP address directly to another. So you're not able to access the internet in general. I do take your point, though. So yeah, standards. And how we can meet them, how we can raise them. My own personal standard is basically to act in a way that I would be pleased with if it was my future son/son-in-law. I'm yet to get there. I'm not in the place that I would like to be at in life. I'm not anywhere near as consistent as I would like to be. I do put in a heck of a lot of effort and don't seem to be getting terribly much out for my rewards, but once again, that's my fault. That is pretty much my yardstick. Is this how I would like my future son/son-in-law to act? Yes, no. If yes, carry on. If no, work out what's wrong, and then have an honest appraisal and go from there. One thing I need to get better at is to slow down on action, I suppose, is one way to look at it. I don't know, I can act rather hastily sometimes. Then other times I drag my heels. It's not a perfect balance. Nothing in life really is. I've become extremely reflective in my old age, now that I'm getting somewhat close to 30. The old age of 28. This is not what we normally have on Saturday, as you well know. We're normally happy, laughy, bubbly people. But with only one of you laughing and bubbly is kind of difficult to do. I do just enjoy the irony of a family stream being disrupted because of a family visit. There is something to that. Chat has gotten stuck, by the way, so if you're saying anything, not my fault. Blame restream. Yeah, whatever. Shut up. Get me cane or something. It used to be my knee that was awful. Knee has not been bad the last couple of years because I've started. Well, first off, I stopped playing cricket, which helped a hell of a lot, and then beyond that, I started working out and paying extra attention to it. Okay, this is the sort of joke we like. Johnny Not Power went to the doctor with bad wind. She gave him a kite. My friend told me a joke the other day. It was just horrific. I cringed when I heard it. How do you count cows? With a calculator. I need a groan sound effect, please. Somebody make one of those for me. It'd be much better off than the. It's sadly enough that actually wasn't the worst joke she's ever told me. She's really, really told me some bad ones over the years. That was probably one of the highlights. I agree. It was awful. Thank you for the groan, Will. Evening, Dave. Hope you're well. Oh, you have a little drum emo thing. The emoticon, whatever they're called. I think maybe it would be better if that was at the end, though. So it's a barat with a little drum looking thing at the end. This has gone desperately off of subject. Desperately off of subject, because we were originally going to be talking about being a warden and all that stuff. And we got sidetracked with various other nonsensical things, although this I must know the answer to. Please tell us afterwards. Oh, we call them dad jokes here, or Christmas cracker jokes. But what do you call an Indian tightrope joke? Tightrope walker. Bloody hell. Balancing. I don't get that one. Anyone translate that into something I understand? What wobbles and flies through the sky? Oh, for flip's sake, it's balancing. I'm an idiot. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough, balancing. Good, well done, I approve of that one. Jonathan says a jellycopter. Anyway, okay, enough jokes for the moment. We were talking about standards and wardens and all the rest of that jazz. In general, as a society, the reason we've gotten to this stage is because people stopped calling other people out when they were misbehaving or when they were doing stuff that was kind of distasteful, crappy, insert word here. Just a little tiny bit of pushback would be quite nice to see every now and then. Not at us directly, like, whatever you do, don't push back at me, I'm a paper tiger. But when you see someone just kind of misbehaving or struggling, which did happen yesterday, I was really, really pleased to see that. I believe it was Stephen Kay. He offered that little bit, not so much pushback, but that friendly arm. That was good to see. We need more of that sort of thing. Actually taking responsibility to help people and taking it upon ourselves as opposed to waiting for somebody else to do it. One minute, what's going on there? I haven't heard anything about this. Andrew apparently has, who said it was Scotland. Oops, where'd it go? First off, you're breaking the no news thing. I'm not sure if I give you permission for this. No news is good news. That's my new motto. I'd love to know if anybody else is doing this no news thing. I'm taking this pretty seriously. I've seen... I'm not entirely sure why I've done it, to be honest with you. I've seen more news today than I certainly meant to. It's okay. I'll give you a free pass for that one, Will, because it was actually important news. That was a while back. Okay, but it's also old news. So I'll allow the report on important and old news. That's perfectly acceptable. I did see a relatively important bit of news today, which was apparently they've issued new do not resuscitate orders for patients with learning difficulties. COVID patients, rather, to be precise. So if they're not going to abort them in the womb, they're apparently just going to wait for them to get COVID and then kill them. Okay, this Dave is a proper no-news man. He's a veteran of the no-news way of doing things. You have one of three options, Dave. Has your life improved, remained the same, or gotten worse? I have a feeling it will definitely be either gotten better or remain the same. I have a feeling it would have gotten better. Yeah, but you're trying to get the truth, John. John has said he reads all the news he can and assumes the opposite position. I do agree that assuming the opposite is definitely the way to go. Don't read the news and then assume that it's the truth. I don't think any of us are doing that. But just in general, it's just so bloody depressing. It's constant. It's never ending. I don't remember who it was. I mentioned this a couple of days ago, or weeks ago, rather, on stream. I think it was on Tim Paul's stream. He raised this wonderful point that once upon a time, news was incredibly slow. Like, incredibly slow. There was a war between the US and somebody. I don't remember who it was either. The war ended, but it didn't end for 6 months until after it ended because of all the going back and forth. They had to send letters and they had to sign treaties and all the rest of that jazz. These things used to take a hell of a long while, and now it's instantaneous. You can get news from anywhere in the world pretty much as soon as it happens. As with 9/11, before it happened. There we go, life's better. Watching. 1 second. Watching the news gives cockney nut job indigestion. I like that one. I've always wondered, I agree with this. It is completely designed to trigger and humiliate people. Anyway, Dave's life is absolutely better. He also used to watch practically no TV now either. He used to be a TV junkie. I think that's a good turnaround. Wait a minute. I thought you weren't here today. You told and chat yesterday that you were going off. That stream last night was awesome, by the way. I didn't realise how much I enjoyed just awful early 2000s pop punk music. I forgot how fun it was. It's fun just to have music that's fun and not trying to do or be anything, or trying to be too edgy, or trying to be too fast, or any of that stuff. Admittedly, too fast doesn't happen. Well, not for me at any rate. But yeah, that was a wonderful stream. Anyone who didn't see it last night, go and watch it. Especially if you enjoy that sort of music, or think you may enjoy that sort of music, or were alive in the early 2000s and enjoy fun. There you go. If you were born after the early 2000s and you don't enjoy fun, don't watch it. You won't understand. You're far too young for it. Look at this. He was in London, then he came back. Tisk tisk. This makes perfect sense. Dave says, when I was a TV junkie, I watched a Charlie Brooker thing. The reason there's so much bad news in the media is because they can get more coverage out of it. But if you think about it, it's outrage culture, isn't it? If something bad in the world happens, first off, you get two opposing people to talk about it. Then you do a longer interview with one of those people, probably the one that you agree with, because that's how the media works. And then you do it all again. You find the next piece of outrage, and you rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. Who on earth came up with the idea of the 24-hour news station? Just who decided they wanted to torture the world that much for such a prolonged period of time? God, I've noticed this as well. There's one thing reading the internet news. It is a completely different kettle of fish when you're looking at BBC One or whatever, and a bog standard BBC lunchtime news. Wow, do they go overboard with it? I think if people do watch the news, they should do themselves a favour. Don't consider reading stuff online, watching the news. Just take that half hour, 45-minute, whatever it is, lunchtime coverage that they do. Just sit down and watch that once and see how insane it is. Exactly. You basically said what I said shortly after. Well, I said what you said shortly after. Once again, my chat is very strange. Very strange. I didn't know that. I'm not surprised. I don't know what permanent drizzle is. I don't like it. That's all I know. That's an uncomfortable phrase. Oh, mate, not only do I believe an armed society is a polite society, I think an armed society is the only society. Everything else is just something waiting to be invaded, given enough time. I don't understand what idiots don't like guns. It doesn't make sense. It absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Whose bright idea was it? I can understand them, the people who wanted to take it away. The people I don't understand at all are the supposed gun rights people who then just say, well, you know, we'll allow you to restrict our rights on this because it's reasonable, and then allow that thing to slip and slide all the way down to where we are at the moment. But yeah, I'm an extreme gun-loving person. I'm just one of those people, basically. My political position is leave me alone. Leave me alone and all is good. And having some sort of firearm is definitely the way to go on that one. There you go. My feelings perfectly summed up. If you don't like guns, then you're on the side of the state. Never ever trust anybody who's on the side of the state. It means they're either number one, an idiot, number two, psychotic, or number three, an idiot. It's so dumb you have to say it twice just so they understand. We should do a gun stream one day. Just talk about the most awesome firearms that have ever been created. The Americans have this thing. I think it is in the... I think they call them warthogs. I'm not sure. We know them as Hercules. You know, the massive, great big bombers. The Yanks have this thing, which is basically a grenade-firing automatic cannon, and it is the single coolest firearm gun armament thing I have ever bloody seen. I swear that should just be the advert for joining the US Air Force. Just have that on a loop for 30 seconds, going absolutely ham on a mountainside somewhere in Afghanistan. My God, everyone would join. We should have the same thing. That should be the military adverts. None of this nonsense. It is not called a grenade launcher, Nick. No. This thing is enormous. I say grenades. They're bloody big. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but it's a little automatic cannon that they've got on an aeroplane. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I could accept an increase in military spend by things like that. Just for the adverts. Once again, that should be the recruitment advert. Do something cool. None of this nonsense born in Blythe, made in the Royal Navy. No, 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 no. Show me some explosions, lads. Should be the only sort of adverts going. I would also like a grenade launcher. I have absolutely no issue with people owning them. I think they're completely useful. Once again, government has it, thereby I should be able to have it as well. I will try and find it. One moment. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Right, give me a second, Alfred. I'll try and find it. Unfortunately, you put in US Air Force cannon bomber and it doesn't pop up. This is what happens when Joe is away. We just end up talking about this sort of stuff. Rocket launcher may be superior, but I raise you a problem with the rocket launcher. Oh, Rory, thank you very much. Okay, 1 minute. There is a problem with the rocket launcher, and the problem with the rocket launcher is it doesn't have that awesome noise that a grenade launcher has, which is a problem. Wait a minute, is that it? That's not it. That's just the normal. Although equally awesome. Can I have a picture of the weapon, please? I want to see a picture of the rounds that go through this. 1 second. When I find the picture, I'll let you know. Better aim. Where was that comment? But if that was your reason for a rocket launcher, I've got news for you. It's called a bigger grenade. You don't need to aim well if you're just firing off some ungodly, angry demon, basically. A10 Thunderbolt, is that it? Well, let's have a look. That is an angry looking aeroplane. But not the one I was thinking of. Or not the armament I was thinking of, at any rate. I will find it and I will post it on the Discord as soon as I find it. I've seen an amazing video of it. I just realised I wasn't showing the screen. My apologies. And you will see. No, okay, well, maybe not. Apparently, Restream and Bossy doesn't work well. Who knew? It's 30 of you on D Live. 30 odd on YouTube. You know, all together we form a lovely happy family talking about incredible machinery. It's much better than the serious subject of standards. What are we shooting? Anything that moves. Anything that moves and infringes on our right to be cool. That's a remarkably good answer. What do you mean killing people? I'm not about aiming at people. No, you just fire it into a mountainside. Oh, what a weird stream we have. What game? What game? We're planning the real thing. I'm not the say we can't share screen. Not in Firefox, anyway. I'll work that out for the next one. 1 minute. So, welcome back here. And absolutely in Minecraft. In Minecraft, where everything is acceptable. Kind of. We're localist rather than nationalist. For many different reasons, but mainly because nationalism is a toxic cesspool, basically. It's full of very, very strange people once you start digging into them, which is a shame because there's also a lot of very good people. I don't actually remember what number 5 is off the top of my head. 1 minute. Number 5 is... No, number 5 is perfectly reasonable. Number 5, basically, no promotion of religion or political ideologies. Because we're much more interested in people improving as opposed to pushing an idea. We think that the ways for things to change is for individuals to take responsibilities for themselves as opposed to anything else. Xanth asks, what is my favourite pheasant? Talking of game. This was the news that I saw earlier on, and I meant to bring up, even though no news. I will try and find it, but basically about, I think it was 14,000 game birds have been culled, as they like to say nowadays. They've been culled from around Leicester, I think it was. I will have to find that very quickly, because that is actually pretty important. Once again, if you are going to watch news, the only thing I would really suggest keeping up with would be the absurdities going on in the food supply. The main man for that is obviously going to be Ice Edge Farmer. I think that it is so important that being ignorant of it is a very, very dangerous idea. So yeah, no news meaning no general sort of crap, but you can read him or listen to him rather, and all is good. What should I put in? Game bird flu. Yeah, here it is. Who's on the Sun? Okay, I'm not going to click on the Sun. Instead, I'm going to click on the BBC because apparently that's better in my mind when I have to do things. Anyway, a flock of about 14,000 game birds are to be culled up in Scotland after a second outbreak of the bird flu. So if you have chickens up in Scotland, be careful. Don't let them out. British nationalism is a contradiction in terms. Thoughts? Yeah, I can see that. Because it completely negates England and, well, the individual nations themselves. So that does make sense. It's yet another contradiction amongst it. Ooh, interesting. I will take a look at that. I think I've come across them before. I'm not convinced I have. 1 second. Full thoughts. Now that I've successfully found them, have I come across them before? No, I have not. Apologies, I was mistaken. There is a rather amusing picture of a very strange looking pigeon. Is that a real pigeon? I'm not sure. It's funny you say that, because there aren't many around me at all. There are not many around me at all at the moment. I've seen 2 pheasants in the past. I'm not sure. Let's say since it started snowing, I've seen 2 pheasants. Typically, you would see, large groups of them roaming around all day, every day. Oh, that's funny. I know nothing about woes, nor do I particularly care. Typically, we talk about, for example, what was it we did last? The last industry overview we did was metal casting. Before that, it was preserves. There you are. That's basically what we talk about. People actually doing stuff as opposed to watching stuff. So there you are. That is a pretty decent answer, I think. Or at least I hope. That I agree with completely. England has been completely rammed to one side. What happens if they're communist, Will? I'm always critical of communists. See, there are some political beliefs that are just so astoundingly dumb. I think it's perfectly reasonable to be critical of those people. Commies are one of those things. I'm trying to think what else there is. The white Sharia, although admittedly white Sharia isn't so much an ideology as just weird, edgy little weirdos. Yeah, Dangerfield is not an issue. That's all. Admittedly, some of the behaviour from Scrubs over the last couple of months, maybe. But, you know, we're all adults. So we can act like adults. Okay, Will has clarified. He says, I mean, we as a group aren't critical. Individually, we may criticise away. I agree. Although communism, once again, you know. I have a real strong despisement of anything that collectivizes people in that way. Ooh, edible acres. Who are they? Is Edible Acres that guy in Canada who had the urban farm? No, he is not. Can confirm. Definitely not the man I thought it was. He doesn't even look Canadian. I don't know, I got confused. Ooh, a bottom heat propagator. Okay, you know what? I'm going to pop the link in there because that actually sounds interesting. He's in upstate New York. Thank you for that one. There you go. If anybody wants to go and take a look, that actually looks pretty interesting. I'm going to watch some of his stuff later on. Never heard of the fella before. Thank you for that one. I'm rather irritated I can't share screen. Let me see if I can fix this, because this is unusual. Normally when it's just us, as in me and you, chat. Normally when it's just us, I share screen pretty much constantly. I want to... why is it temporarily blocked? What are you doing? Bloody hell. Select screen or window. Ooh. Thank you very much. Allow. Has that worked? Let's find out. Okay, sharing screen in Firefox is very, very odd. Can we go through? There we go. Okay, good. Oh, bloody hell. Can I please put a message on screen? Apparently not. Okay, I'll read it out instead then. Johnny Not Power has said... Where's it gone? Okay, sharing screen, really very bad idea, apparently. That's not having any of it. There we go, now we're back and working properly. Sorry about that, chat. That was very uncomfortable, quite honestly. Anyway, John has said, Scrubs are good people, some better than others. But people are people, and in group preferences work both ways. Yeah, I agree. Individuals are individuals. By and large, I think individuals tend to be on the good side. And as I said, it's just been the odd scrub over the past couple of months who's been a bit strange. And one of which I've actually spoken to somebody who is a scrub, and they've never heard of that person, so I'm not sure what they're doing. But they're nothing to do with the whole, basically. Maiden Cornwall has asked a question as well, which I've just found. Thank you for that. Now that Firefox has stopped being bloody weird. What do you think of the postman leaving a 72-year-old lady in the snowy ground after a fall and not help her up? I think he should be... One minute. I'm on air. I think, at the very least, the woman should be compensated, and it should come out of his pension. And if that means he loses his pension, then tough cookie. You know, I think this is a way to start hitting. That's the sort of society I would like to live in, I think. Where if somebody shirks responsibility like that, the first thing that goes is their pension. Because that will keep you honest. You know, you've worked for 15, 20 years paying into your pension, suddenly it's gone because you did something excessively crappy. And something like this is just... It's not even moral cowardice. I don't know what the word is. I come back to what I said earlier on about me living up to my own standards. You know, the way that I do it is simply, is this something I would be proud of my future son/son-in-law doing? I cannot possibly in a world I would live in where I would ever do that. And that has nothing to do with me trying to live up to my own standards. That's just basic human bloody decency. You know, a little old lady's fallen over, you don't mess around with that. You help her up and you carry on with your day, sort of thing. Yes, I did go a bit low. Mainly because Firefox was being strange. As I said at the beginning, for some reason, DLive has decided that it doesn't want to work on Restream anymore. Restream has decided it doesn't want to work on Chrome anymore. So we're unable to play the intro video, which sucks. So I've had to flick over to this to do the intro video, which was especially needed today because it wasn't Joe and I having some bands coming into the show. I think a bad man is... I think that is a very, very light touch. I think being an absolutely born human. I don't like mandating common decency. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a very slippery slope. I think if you start saying you have to be decent, you run into a situation where you end up with people like this, who have plainly said, no, I'm not going to be a decent person because that's not within my job remit. I think that's an exceptionally miserable world, to be honest. That's not the sort of world that I want to live in. That is... It's kind of how you always saw the Soviet Union. You know, in films and what have you, when they went out to the USSR, it was always slightly greyed out. And that's kind of how I imagine that sort of world being. I'm trying to think if there's any sort of context where leaving anybody, not even an old person, just leaving anybody who's fallen over in the snow. I'm trying to work out if there's a situation where that's okay. I don't think there is. I'm not sure there's many people I would leave in the snow. Or leave on the ground in general, to be honest. It has nothing to do with the snow. It's just... There we go. That's some good news, at least. I agree with Nick. Cultivate virtue. Get used to charitable giving. That's what we need. That's the sort of society we want, where individuals actually take responsibility for themselves, where individuals realise that you may be in an okay position in life at the moment, but you may not be tomorrow. And equally, that could be a family member next time. You know, how would you feel if it was your great aunt Bertrude had fallen over in the snow, you know? Auntie Bertrude wouldn't be totally happy with that, and neither would you, I would imagine. Bertrude. Is it Bertrude was the only name I could think of? One minute. That was not the comment. Where was it? God dang it, jumped. I am absolutely condemning, because as I said, I just cannot possibly imagine a world where that is an acceptable course of action. Maybe if he had hurt his back. Maybe. See, I've seen videos of this, people doing this in the US and Canada where it snows a hell of a lot. People just driving around in the snow, and they've got their big pickup and what have you, and they're just driving around looking to help people who've gotten caught in snowdrifts. I think that is a wonderful thing, because it does two things. Number one, obviously it helps that individual there out. You know, if you're stuck in a snowdrift, that's no fun place to be. Beyond that, though, especially in somewhere as enormous as the US, it would do a lot to take pressure away from the emergency services. Yeah, their distances are so much greater than ours. I can only imagine the absolute nightmare it would be if people weren't going around helping other people get out of the snow. I've definitely seen those people. I think they're awesome. I've also seen the same sort of situation happening with hurricanes. People traveling down, they've got their little skidoo things. And I agree with that. Community means everything. Without community, we don't have much of anything at all. We're just individuals. And individuals get absolutely obliterated. That's the problem. It's probably partly why I'm willing to go out on a limb on this. I don't know much about it, but I would say that's probably partly why the communists found it so easy to take over rural Russia. Because once again, as large as the US and Canada are, the scale of Russia is absolutely absurd. I would imagine there would be lots and lots and lots of farms just out in the middle of nowhere, basically. Those people, or just very, very small communities built up around something like a stream or something, 4 or 5 houses being there. Those communities are then so small that they can't fight back against the machine that was the Soviet army rolling in saying this is how it's going to be, or the Bolshevik army rather. I'd be bloody interested to find out how they did in cities, because they went really, really hard after the farms. I would imagine the way that they did it, I would love for somebody who's knowledgeable about this in chat to tell me. I would imagine the way that they did it was they took over the farms, they they start messing around with the food supply, as they're always inclined to do, and then basically starve the cities out. I just look at face value. Simple as that. I trust Made in Cornwall. If you have a link, by all means, but other than that, I also don't. Let's sort of talk about it as if it's an imaginary person, because it really isn't particularly relevant to much of anything. Once again, no news, remember? It would be interesting, though, to know how many news stories they're putting out there as deliberate fake news like this, just to get people annoyed. Because there's certainly that possibility with some stories, especially some of the more absurd stories, you see. I can definitely see some of them being... Oops, where'd it go? I can definitely see some of the news stories being embellished at the very least. Green Dragon has said it's probably easier to indoctrinate the city folk because they're more dependent due to cities being unable to sustain themselves. I agree. Obviously, it's common sense. I would imagine that's how it went. I would imagine they took over the farms. I would imagine they sent their thugs around in cities and cleared out all the local shop owners and what have you, or the local middlemen decided that the only people who are going to be able to bring food in and out of cities are going to be the state-mandated tradesmen, whatever the hell they would have called them, or merchants rather. I don't blame you. There's genuinely, there's nothing on TV that's worth watching that I know of. I may be wrong, but you think about the incredible resource that YouTube is. Unbelievable resource we have at our fingertips. Why is anybody watching the news? Not the news, sorry. Why is anybody watching TV? You know, you can learn anything about anything you want. Earlier on, I was watching a video for no apparent reason on the medieval peasant diet. No idea why I was watching it, but it was just bloody interesting. Did I learn a lot? In a way, actually, yes. I discovered that the reason or one of the possible reasons there was the population expansion during the medieval period was because of beans, which I find interesting considering how much Joe takes the mick out of me for my love of beans. But obviously, it's some sort of deep ancestral connection with beans. I knew they were good. See, there is that take as well. So I'm not saying no news is for everybody. It depends, you know. It's horses for courses. If you start to feel that the world is going a bit dark and you don't have a generally sunny disposition, just don't bother with the news, cut it out. I actually do have quite a sunny disposition. I simply just don't have time to waste reading stuff that I know is nonsense. Johnny Not Barrel definitely, at least he appears to have a very sunny disposition. Humorous chap. So, yeah, obviously it's water off a duck's back to him. And there's a perfectly fine way to be. It's probably the preferable way to be. But if you are somebody who's struggling, somebody who's a bit black-pilled, just don't bother with it. Nothing there. Made in Cornwall has asked the most important question of the night. What did they eat? Well, this one particular video that I saw, they expelled the virtues of beans, naturally, as you do. Broad beans, to be precise. And they was talking about bacon. And there was another video that I watched, I may be getting too confused now, but this fella made a bacon and leek and bean pottage, and it sounded rather pleasant. And it was exactly as it sounded. It was bacon, leeks, water, onions, cooked in a pot, and then he popped it on some bread. And I thought to myself, yeah, I fancy that. How dare you? How dare you, good sir? Don't steal my laugh. I can indeed share the video. When I find it later on, I will pop it up. And you guys can enjoy it. I will put it into the history and traditions, or traditions and history. I can't remember what the hell it's called. It's one of the two. I'll put it in there. It will be under topics. Won't be that difficult for me to find. See, the opposing views. Johnny Not Powell and Sir Francis. Two English legends disagreeing with each other. They love reality shows. Reality shows. The only thing I think a nation should ever apologize for is this country, and we should apologize for the existence of that geezer who does X Factor. Stephen Cow, Bob, whatever his name is, Bob Cow, whatever it is, we all know the geezer we all know who I mean. That fella. From that moment on, this country did nothing but produce reality TV, or at least it felt it, and I think we exported it to the world. And it's awful. It's unbearable. You can Simon Cowell, thank you for that. Where did I get Stephen from? Bob Cow. whatever his name is, it is completely irrelevant to me. That man, the amount of dross is just the amount of dross he's produced is incredible. Satan Cow. That was a good. I like that one. Ooh, that is interesting. 1 minute, I'll look that one up as well. I've got 3 channels to look up tonight. Apparently, I was wrong. I have no issue with being wrong. But how's that surname spelled? P-O-H-L. I would definitely look into that because I find it interesting. And you know what? There you go. For anybody else who has an interest in the Soviet Union, there you are. Read it, well, listen away, I suppose. I think it's important that we have a basic understanding of how these things happen. Yeah, now you've said the word react. Oops. You've made me realise that Simon Cowell is basically a time traveller. He set up his own version of TikTok, but he did it before the internet was even really a massive thing, let alone phones and all the rest of that jazz. I just love the idea of walking into a TV studio or a TV company, whoever the hell deals with this sort of thing. Definitely not a studio. Just walking into their office and saying, "I've got an idea for a show," and the idea for the show is basically, I'm going to sit there and watch something, and you're going to film me sit there and watch something, and you're going to pay me money for it. TikTok is awful. TikTok is some of the worst outrage culture nonsense you have ever seen. If it weren't for the fact it's hard work, I would find a bunch of videos off of her, clip them together, and then play them next Saturday. It's just outrage culture. It's outrage culture, and people kind of like lip syncing to songs. It's very weird, but the outrage culture alone is the weirdest thing. People in absolute hysterics over all sorts of stuff. Like the mask thing obviously is a big thing for them, but beyond that, just everything. I've seen a video of one person not just crying, but screaming, crying, that they've been unable to leave the house for the last X number of weeks. They haven't been able to go get their latte. To the point where you cannot make it up. It's insane. It is so weird. Oh yeah, don't forget about those bloody dancing NHS nurses. It's just propaganda. We need to find some of the most outrageous TikTok videos. So much soy. Oh, there are some, honestly, they're... Someone at work showed me a TikTok video called Thick Boys. It wasn't referring to intelligence. I don't like the idea of thick boys. That just sounds like it's going to be video upon video upon video of chubby men. I don't much like the idea of thick girls either, to be honest, because whenever you see a picture of the so-called thick girl, thick isn't the word I would use to describe. I would describe them as wide, exceptionally wide, or deep. But you've really... You should have laid off the pizza a little while ago when your measurements are no longer taken. Like you have to measure on the y-axis or whatever the hell it would be, Then you have to start measuring your depth as well, then you've got an issue. Matt Albert has updated us further. Thank you for this. They attacked the cities for the first time. I think a useful podcast is called The 1917 Bolshevik Seize of Power, What It Means to Us Today. I suppose there's multiple ways I could have gone about it. Another possible option, which seems to be the reality as opposed to my option, which was fantasy. They went after the cities, gained control of those, and then used numbers just to overrun everybody else, which also makes perfect sense. I suppose at the end of the day, why go around to each individual farmstead? Because number one, eventually you're going to leave, so they can do whatever they want once you turn your back. And two, I've lost my train of thought. Okay, that was absurd. I don't normally lose my train of thought midway through a sentence. Just pretend that didn't happen. I think Satan Cow would like the sound of thick boys. He does sound that way, doesn't he? I'm not sure if he is, but I don't like it. My missus asked if she looked fat. I said you have perfect eyesight. Oh yeah, that was good. I'm annoyed that I lost my train of thought. That was going somewhere kind of interesting. Well, obviously not that interesting, because even I bloody forgot it. I wouldn't want to inflict that on other people. Yeah. Little Britain is such a weird program. The fake gay one would love thick. 1 minute. The fake. This is news to my ears. Which one was fake? I assume they both were. What sort of name is Walliams, by the way? It's uncomfortable to say. I've never met any or heard of anybody else called Walliams. It's like a knockoff Jonathan Ross. Well, apparently David is the fake one. I didn't realise. I didn't realise that at all. I assumed he was that way, you know? What a stupid name that is. Walliams. I'm not putting that on screen more, but I don't disagree. Anyway, chat, we basically completely missed the mark on what we was going to talk about. He's definitely very strange. He's definitely very, very strange. Okay, Albert's banned by Discord. Yeah, we do have an alternative. We are on Gilded as well. We're not using that at the moment properly. Mainly because it's a bit of a hassle. More people have Discord than they do Gilded. So, it is what it is. Eventually we will be moving on to Gilded, good and proper, probably. Because for no reason whatsoever, Discord likes banning people. It's a known problem. It's a known problem with pretty much all platforms. There's not much anyone can do about it. I don't particularly believe we're safe anywhere. I really don't like this push toward Trovo. It kind of makes me a bit not uncomfortable, but it's just odd. You know, DLive was the place, and then suddenly it's not the place anymore. It's a bad place. It's basically the same as YouTube, and it's okay, fine, whatever. I just it just doesn't matter. You know, if we all go out into the real world and we do real useful things as opposed to watching streams, then everything is much, much, much better. Which is what we normally talk about. Or at least it's what we want to get back to talking about. Yeah, well said, Tony. Decentralized comms, that's a nice way to look at it. Yeah, also, it's better to be everywhere than one particular platform, because then if that one particular platform gets blown out, you're completely screwed. This was Joe's issue, actually. Joe noticed this first. I didn't. It never occurred to me. I didn't think of it. Joe's issue with Trovo is it takes half your money. Now, while that may sound like Joe being upset that it's taken half of our donations, we don't take donations anyway, so it's completely irrelevant to us. The issue that Joe has with it is you've got all these people pushing other people over to these platforms, knowing that half the money that person sends is going towards the platform itself. So basically, you're telling your audience to waste half of their money. It was odd. She can speak more on it herself. That was the general sort of gist. It was, I don't know. I'm no fan of it, that's for sure. Once again, I don't like donations are a weird thing. They make me kind of uncomfortable. Well, they make me very uncomfortable, to be honest with you. But yeah, this Trovo thing. Pushing your audience over to somewhere where half the money they donate gets taken. I don't know, that doesn't sit comfortably with me. It doesn't sit comfortably with Joe either. And that's basically all we know about it. Other than that, I haven't actually looked at Trovo. Does it have a function in search feature, unlike BitChute? There we go, got there eventually. Although talking of all platforms which are kind of decent, I do like Odyssey. Let's see if I can find it, 1 second. Odyssey is actually, you know, pretty decent. Much better than Library. The difference between Odyssey and Library, they are basically the same thing. The difference is Library is something you download onto your computer, whereas Odyssey is not. Odyssey is just the web browser version of it. So there you are. If anybody wants a new video platform, there's a link to it. They seem pretty decent. From what I understand about them, that was very disconcerting. The video started playing randomly. I just heard, oh dear. Yeah, as I was saying before, that very strange Canadian man started speaking. The way I believe Odyssey works is it's kind of like torrents, but a much more user-friendly version of them, because you don't individually have to download them. I believe that's how it works. I may be wrong. I would kind of like to look into them a little bit more. They seem decent. And ultimately that's all that really matters. Indeed she did. For anyone who missed it, the irony is the family-orientated stream was disrupted because of a family visit. So yeah, I hope that's all. I'm not Joe. I get very distracted very easily. And I start waffling on about random stuff, such as, for example, the absurd gunship, which I am going to go and find a video of and pop that onto Discord. And to be honest with you, I'm probably going to put it on Tuesday as well. When we come back on Tuesday, it doesn't matter what we're doing, I'm going to shoehorn it into the conversation when I find it. So yeah, I believe that is all for this evening. I hope you're all well. We will probably be in Discord shortly. And yeah, I will see you there. And if not, I will see you on Tuesday. So thank you all for joining me. I hope you have a nice weekend. Bye for now.